I will lead us with the opening prayer and the pledges of allegiance to the flags of the United States and the state of Texas. Please rise. Lord, sprinkle your blessings on those who gather here today to discuss matters of our community. We thank you for the ability to use our minds to ensure our community prospers. During this time with the virus, we ask that you bless those who serve and those who volunteer. Bless those who teach and those who heal. Bless those who protect us and those who govern. Bless those who work and those who play. As this meeting begins this evening, we pray for each person here. Give each person clarity of mind, creativity, compassion, due diligence, and integrity. Give them listening ears and thoughtful words. Give them wisdom and an open heart. We ask this in your name. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one indivisible. I just have one special announcement, council and guests. While seated, it is perfectly fine to remove your mask and while speaking at the podium. But as you approach the dais or depart the chamber, we respectfully ask that you place your face mask back on. First, we have our city manager has a coin presentation. Dr. Brown?
Good evening, Council, staff and residents. It's a privilege for me to be here tonight to award one of my coins, a city manager coin, which is a special award for me. It's given for excellence, usually to our employees for the great work that they do. And tonight, I have one that's really special, I think, to all of us for the great work that this person has done. So, Chief Long, would you come up? You know, it's really a privilege to award Chief Long my coin. He has done just an outstanding job as our emergency coordinator, emergency management coordinator. He's done a fantastic job leading us for 4 months at least through the COVID situation and no end in sight. His steady hand has been critical in all of the many decisions we've had to make. His recommendations are excellent, and he's on top of the data. He does his best, you know, to make sure that we are aware of all the breaking situations and everything that we do. That we're well informed. And so, Chief, we just really appreciate everything that you do. And I just can't say it enough, how great a job you've done. And this isn't even his job. He's the fire chief. His EMC job is part-time. And so, but he stepped in. He's never failed to, you know, live up to his responsibilities. He constantly does that. And he does it with style and grace every day, and we just really appreciate what you've done. I think your wife's here, Terry and Jordan. So we just wanted you all to be here so that when we recognize Kay, that you would be able to participate in that. Of course, it's got our, on the back of it, it says community service and opportunity. It says do the right thing, work as a team, do the best you can. Treat others the way you would like to be treated, and I think that's what Chief Long does every day. So, Chief, congratulations. Oh, do I have my map? Sorry about that. Come on up. And the firefighters, thank you all for coming. It's great to see you all here. Really appreciate you all being here. And you do great work too. You all are doing.
Just want to say a few things. Chief Long, during challenging times, I mean, you operate the Emergency Operations Center for maybe 1 or 2 days. 4.5 months. 4.5 months, Chief. You bear the huge responsibility. Your professionalism, your expertise, the information you provided during our discussions was very much appreciated. Your efforts and your actions immensely contributed to the safety and the well-being of our residents and our community. On behalf of our citizens, I want to offer my heartfelt thanks, appreciation, and gratitude. Thank you, Chief, for everything you have done. We really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor, City Manager. I certainly appreciate it, and it's certainly a team effort and something that we've all worked through together very well. I feel like the teams worked very well together from all of us, and so that's really the goal of all this, is to get the information that we have out to the citizens and let them know what's going on, but also do what we can to protect them. So I appreciate it, and thanks for those kind words.
All right, thank you, Chief. Okay, we'll continue with announcements of upcoming events. Mr. James?
If I can find it here this week. I lost it last week. The only one I have is just a reminder, as council probably knows, we are holding a general election on November 3rd, 2020 for the purposes of electing council members to places 3, 4, and 5, 3-year terms. So everybody can hear. And that would be from November 2020 to November 2023. Any candidate desiring to have his or her name on the ballot shall file with the city secretary an application in writing in the form prescribed by the Texas Election Code declaring themselves a candidate. The filing deadline is Monday, August 17th, 2020 at 5 p.m. And candidate qualifications and packet information is available online at the city's website, or they can contact the city secretary.
Thank you, Mr. James. And just to point out, the governor did move the early voting a whole week. October 13th is now the official date for the early voting. Okay, announcements and recognitions by our city manager, Dr. Brown.
Yes, Mayor, I have a few tonight. First, I wanted to recognize our facilities department. I think they've done a fantastic job for us during this pandemic. Among the things they've done, developed new cleaning procedures for sanitizing our offices, conference rooms, common areas, daily extra cleaning of offices and most touch surfaces, emergency team response actions to deep clean and sanitize office when a known case presented itself, install plexiglass partitions to help prevent COVID-19 virus spread through city facilities. And if you haven't seen it, we do have plexiglass in a lot of areas throughout our facilities. Set up temperature tracking stations for employees in city buildings, designed and installed information and social distance signage, set up additional hand sanitizing stations, and delivered cleaning supplies daily throughout the city facilities. And so we couldn't do it without them, really. And you know, all the signs you see and all of the measures that have been taken, someone had to do that, and our facilities team did a great job. So I'd like to recognize them by name. Todd Buckingham, Joe Villarreal, Cress Mayorga, Ray Gonzalez, Sammy Maeda, Sam Rhodes, Bruno Cepeda, Chad Lodsberry, and Thomas Brooks. So thank you to them, and we really do appreciate that. Additionally, I wanted to recognize two of our public works employees, and Suzanne brought this to my attention in what is really a heroic act that they did this past week. They had just finished doing a line locate, and they were in the process of entering data when they saw a young man, a teenager, walking a large dog. Nearby was a jogger wearing headphones. At the sight of the jogger, the dog began to pull and lunge against its harness and leash. The dog managed to get out of its harness and attack the jogger. The jogger called for help, and Raul Santoya grabbed the first aid kit from the truck, and Steve called 911. The jogger's arm was badly bitten. While Raul was administering first aid and trying to stop the bleeding, the dog returned, racing toward Raul and the jogger, who had their backs turned. Steve was still on the phone with 911 as he yelled a warning to Raul that the dog was coming back. Raul immediately reacted by throwing the jogger through an open window of a house that was under construction, and both managed to escape the dog. Raul and Steve stayed with the jogger until 911 arrived on the scene. And Raul and Steve shared that, you know, they were just meant to be there in the right place at the right time, but I think that shows the kind of employees we have here in the city of Schertz. They'd be willing to do that. So, Suzanne, congratulations to them, and thank you for their great work.
Yes, Suzanne, please pass our appreciation and gratitude for their work. Appreciate it. Thank you. Announcements and recognitions by the mayor. I do have an announcement. The Census 2020 is underway, and our city's participation rate is 68.6%. On August 11th, this is when the Census Bureau is going to initiate their field operations. They will start their door knocking operations for those households who have not responded. If you have not taken this action, please take the time to complete the 2020 census. We'll continue with the hearing of residents. This time is set aside for any person who wishes to address the City Council. Each person is limited to 3 minutes, and we ask before addressing the council, for the record, please state your name and address. I don't see anybody that signed up. Ms. Dennis, is there anyone that submitted a hearing of residents in writing? Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to consent agenda items. Consent agenda items are considered self-explanatory, and information packets are provided to the council and available for public viewing. These items require no separate discussion unless requested by council. So, consent agenda item number 1, the approval of the minutes of our regular meeting for July 14, 2020. Item number 2, resolution number 20R79, a resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, and approving professional service agreements with Rabba Kistler Incorporated and Terracon Consultants Incorporated for on-call geotechnical engineering services and all matters in connection therewith. Resolution number 20R85, a resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing a purchase and sale agreement for the purchase of real property, 536 Main Street, as well as a purchase of real property improvements and other matters in connection therewith. And item number 4, accepting Ms. LaDonna Bacon's resignation as a regular member of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and appointing Mr. Earl Platt from an alternate position on the Planning and Zoning Commission to a regular member. Council, do any of these items need to be removed for separate action? If not, is there a motion to approve consent agenda items 1 through 4?
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Davis, second by Councilmember Dalla. Council, any other comments? If not, let's call for the vote.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
We have 5 ayes, no objection, motion passes. We'll move on to discussion items. Item number 5, ordinance number 20L23, an ordinance by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, amending Chapter 62, peddlers and solicitors, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict with this ordinance and providing an effective date. This is our first reading. Chief Bain, you have the floor.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. There we go. All right, this is an update to the existing peddlers and solicitors ordinance. It is a bit dated. Last time was about 2003, so in the last 17 years there's been many new changes in the laws and court decisions regarding peddling and soliciting. Some of the updates we looked at were in definitions, the application process, and also the issuance and denial. And I wanted to hit some of the highlights of this ordinance is some of the case law has changed, and again, some of the state law has changed that regulates the soliciting ordinance. So under general prohibitions, the peddlers and solicitors are required to obtain a permit from the police department. But this does not apply to a canvasser who is a person of religious, philosophical, political party, or a candidate, a political candidate. So we don't require them to get a permit. And it also does not apply to those distributing handbills or flyers. In other words, there's no face-to-face contact as they go house to house passing out the flyers. The hours of canvassing, we do need to look at changes there. And this is based on some court rulings that have occurred. The courts have ruled that we cannot be too restrictive with the hours. The current ordinance is you cannot solicit after 6 p.m. or before 10 a.m. And the proposed is going to be 9 p.m. to 8 a.m. And again, this is based on court rulings that have come out recently. Entry upon premises, we require people to use the front door or primary entrance of the residence or private property. In other words, if they don't get an answer at the front door, they can't go searching the house for another entry point, such as the garage, the backyard, the fence. You know, we require them front door, and that's it. This also prohibits people from entering gated communities that have no soliciting signs posted at the entrance. And this is up to each HOA whether they decide to post such signage or not. Something else we've done is adopted Transportation Code 552-007, which prohibits people from standing in the roadway for the purpose of soliciting. Now, this does not apply to charitable organizations with permission from the city. So with that, we adopted Section 552-071, which gives the city authority to grant employees and charitable organizations to solicit in the roadway. And last, we require our solicitors to possess their city-issued permit at all times when soliciting in the community. And if requested, they need to provide that to the person they're soliciting. Questions?
All right, thank you, Chief Bain. Council, floor is open for discussion. Councilmember Brown.
Yeah, good evening. As I was reading the proposals, there are some exclusions, like for businesses that are soliciting, real estate, for example, things along that line. And that last quote you had there, if you would put it back up.
I'm sorry?
The last slide, if you had there. Okay. There we go. It was clarification on the who actually needs a permit. For example, like I said, when I was reading in there, I saw that certain businesses don't need a permit.
Correct.
It's in the normal course of their business to solicit.
Correct.
Okay. It seemed kind of a general statement. I know, like I say, I have an affection or whatever for real estate, and I saw that was specifically excluded. But I mean, is there a limit to that list?
I think it comes down to the terminology used within there. Let me pull that up here.
Let me see if I can find that paragraph that I was reading.
Yeah, the commercial agents dealing with local business establishment in the usual course of their business. Is that the one you're referring to?
Mm-hmm. Correct. Like I said,
Yes.
It's awful broad and general, and I appreciate that, but at the same time, are there limits to that?
If a resident has agreed to or has contacted a commercial agent to come to their residence, well, I mean, they're invited to do so. This ordinance covers solicitors specifically that are uninvited, unannounced, unexpected, that are there to sell wares and goods or product.
Right, we have everything, and we all get it from, like I say, real estate agents, pest control, lawn services. A lot of these things nobody thinks twice about because it's kind of normal. But at what point is there a limit to it? Are there?
It's probably some. You bring up a valid point with the pest control as a comparison to the real estate, because currently, we see a lot of kids come in the summertime where these pest control companies are hiring them to come down and solicit door to door, or the book sales and magazine sales.
Right.
But pest control is a licensed operation of the state. So, perhaps we need to go back and clarify that a little bit, real estate
Like I
compared
said, I
to...
appreciate it being broad and general, okay, not too restrictive, but at the same time, if we do have limits on it, we need to specify that.
Right. No, I understand where you're coming from.
It's one thing getting that versus the guy that's, selling a box of steaks out of his back.
Because, we require the pesticide companies who hire all these kids and go door to door to get a permit. So I can see where that could apply to the real estate side as well. So there probably doesn't be a line in there somewhere.
Right. All right, thanks.
Okay, Councilmember Dalla.
You go back to the slide with the hours of soliciting. So is there any statutory requirement on a minimum number of hours that have to be available for them to be able to solicit with a permit?
The hours are based on some of the recent court rulings and what they consider too restricted. Maybe if I could have Dan help me out with this one here.
So where the hours come from is based upon different jurisdictions where courts have stricken down ordinances for being too restrictive on the hours. So 9 p.m. is listed there because that's an hour that has not been stricken down. That's been upheld as being a good cutoff. I have other cities who've gone earlier. The Fifth Circuit has not directly ruled on what hour is considered reasonable. It was a court out of, I believe, Kentucky that struck down 8 p.m. as being too restrictive. So 9 p.m. has never been stricken. I have other cities that cut it off at 8. I always advise them the same thing. That's fine. We can go with 8. The Fifth Circuit has not ruled that that's too restrictive, but other courts, other federal circuits have. So no, there's no statute that speaks to this whatsoever. This is about this is a form of speech, and so any restrictions we place upon it must be reasonable. It's commercial speech, but it still must be reasonable. Must be the minimum level. Well, not really the minimum level, but it has to be reasonable and justifiable to meet a compelling governmental interest, whatever that cutoff is.
I guess from my point, I just, at least for my family and a lot of other families that I know, that, generally around 8 o'clock, people are starting to get ready for bed, they're after dinner, they're having family time. I would prefer that we restrict it from 8 to 8, or allow it from 8 to 8.
And I think the key to any of that, though, is you put a sign on your door, nobody's going to bother you. They can't. If you put no solicitation on your front door, then they shouldn't be ringing your doorbell at all. It's a violation of the ordinance. So the residents have the ultimate control as to whether or not they're ever bothered or their dinner's ever interrupted.
Council, any other comments? No other comments? Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 20L23? Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Hayward.
I was just going to concur with, granted, I think we as residents have the ability to decide when we open the door and not open the door, but I think 9 o'clock is kind of late. But again, if the doorbell rings, doesn't mean I have to answer it. And when most people now having the ring, they can see who's at the door, and then you can speak to them from there, or you just don't answer the door. But 9 o'clock just does seem really late.
Okay. Councilmember Scagliola.
Yeah, I think we're building consensus that 9 o'clock is probably way too late. I would be in favor of changing it to 8, from 8 to 8. And just one other thing. Campaigning is not considered soliciting.
Correct.
You used to spell that out specifically. Now it's calling it canvassing. Just so as other people aren't confused, I generally don't distribute my flyers to a house that has a do not solicit sign on it. I know I'm allowed to, however, it's never a good thing to tick off a resident. So, but still, you know, I have been approached by others and says, oh, well, that sign doesn't apply to you. Oh, well, thank you very much. But still, it used to spell it out specifically, and now it's a little bit vague as to what it is. But I do strongly suggest that if residents do not want people coming to their doors at all, simple enough. Go get a do not solicit sign, put it on your front door. That keeps most of the people away. That's all I have, sir.
Councilmember Davis.
Mr. Mayor, I'll defer to the good wisdom of our city attorney. I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve Ordinance 20L23 as written.
As written. Do I have a second? We don't have a second. Okay.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve Ordinance 20L-23 with the amendment to make the hours from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Okay, motion's been made by Councilmember Dalla and second by Councilmember Haywood with an adjustment on the hours from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. as restricted times. Any other comments? Not, let's call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Okay, we have 5 ayes, no objection, motion passes. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to item number 6, resolution number 20R77. A resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Guadalupe County for ambulance services and other matters in connection therewith. Jason, Mr. Mamet, you got the floor.
Yeah, good evening. I'm going to try to talk to the math. I don't need to talk that loud, though. How's everybody doing? So we're going to come to you with the Guadalupe County contract. We've had that for several years now. As council knows, the county went out for RFP back in January. We came to council in January to get your approval to submit for the RFP. We did attend that pre-proposal meeting. I will say that there were 12 other EMS services that did attend that meeting. We submitted the proposal, and then we were told in April that we were awarded the RFP. The score for the RFP was 97 out of 100 points, so we did pretty well. And like I said, we've held that contract for over 20 years. Very cost effective for us, not a lot of calls, and pretty good revenue, which I'll show you. We then also have the whole county, but we do ILAs with the city of Seguin, Luling, and San Marcos. This is the whole, obviously the whole county. This is our service area, 220 square miles. This is what we currently do. So this orange is our service area. This blue up here is San Marcos County Ems, and then Luling, and then Seguin has a big chunk of the county. This is what we proposed in our RFP. Our service area did not change at all, so we didn't add any, didn't take any away. This is San Marcos County Ems, same thing, they didn't change. Luling didn't change. This is Seguin, and what we did is we negotiated with Wilson County, and we asked them if they wanted to take the southern portion of the county to have a little bit better of a response time here in the southern portion. So Seguin did take some away, about 60 square miles. This was the call volume. In 2019, you can see we ran about 20% of the calls. In 2019, we got about a 1% growth every year in call volume. This is the current contract, was $843,000, and you can see how we distributed it across all 4 agencies. That was based several years ago on call volume. This was the new negotiated contract. We went up 10% on the contract. And if you approve this tonight, we'll then negotiate with Seguin, San Marcos, Luling, and now Wilson County. For us, for our revenue currently was $294, plus about $115,000 in ambulance revenue, so about $420,000. Our expense was about $218, so you can see it's pretty valuable contract for us. The scope of work didn't change very much. It's very similar to the current contract. It's a 3-year initial term. Total contract is 9 years. There is a response time penalty. So if you go back to the map here, I'll show you this. So they did put in a 13-minute on average response time that they want us to do. And if we don't hit that, it'll be a $2,500 response time penalty for the month. We went back 4 years and looked at our response time with all the agencies, and we hit that the last 4 years very easily. So we don't have any problems meeting that goal. We don't see us ever paying that penalty, especially bringing on Wilson County ESD3. We have supported the Guadalupe County SWAT team for several years, and we wanted to put that in the agreement, so that's in the agreement as well. And then continuing education, we already teach the fire department's CE, so that's not an extra cost for us as well. And then, like I said, we're going to bring in Wilson County ESD3 to help cover the southern portion. So we're asking for your approval for the city manager to enter into an agreement with the county for ambulance services.
All right, thank you. Council, floor is open for discussion. No discussion? Councilmember Dalla?
I just want to say thanks for the conversation before the meeting. You clarified a lot of things for me, and this looks like a phenomenal deal for the city for us to help support our department. So if anybody has no objections, I make a motion that we'll approve Resolution 20R77.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Dalla, second by Councilmember Hayward. Council, any other comments?
Mayor?
Oh, Councilmember Scagliola?
Yeah, just a thing. I made a comment not too long about developing a regional approach to EMS within the county. And, you know, this comes as close as I can probably expect. So good job bidding on this, and congratulations on your, well, 97 out of 100. That's an A in anybody's book. Good job.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, we have a motion on the floor. No other comments? Let's go ahead and call for the vote.
Aye.
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 I have 5 ayes, no objection, motion passes. All right, item number 7, ordinance number 20M24. An ordinance by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, amending the City of Schertz Code of Ordinances and certain other ordinances by amending and establishing fees for certain licenses, permits, and any other services provided by the City of Schertz. All right. Mr. Walters, you have the floor.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We're bringing to you tonight the annual fee schedule update. Unlike some previous years, staff is making no recommendation for changing the water and sewer fees, which are some of the highest impacting fees we can change here in the city. So all the fees before you tonight are very targeted, and citywide they have very low fiscal impact. They're meant to provide costs for a very specific service, so while it won't seem like much, it does go to a very specific program. I'll run through here fairly quickly, and then if you have any questions, I'm here, and I know we have some this other staff here to help answer them. The event facilities, we have a proposed cleaning fee. This is $150. This is what was quoted to us by Vanguard, our cleaning contractor. This is not meant to be charged on every event. This is only for those events that don't pick up after themselves as required in the contract. We feel this is an extra cost, an extra time the staff has to do, especially with all the additional cleaning we have to do with the current state of affairs and COVID-19. There's no intent for the city to actually collect this fee, but if it comes to it, we now have that option. Two other ones for the event facilities, the community centers. They're actually lowering the Sunday rates to the week rates to try to boost events on the weekend on that day, as well as putting in a daily maximum. So if you're renting the event for more than 8 hours, let's say, all of a sudden it starts to cost more to rent a community center room for the entire day than it does like the Bluebonnet room for the entire day, which is supposed to be a much nicer room, much nicer facility. So we'll put caps on the amount of the fees we could charge if you do it per hour and go over that amount. City events, quick updates, the Kick Cancer, we're going to add a 5K non-timed run. The kickball per team is going up $40 to $300. Staff found that actually paying referees will help generate a more consistent referee program. That was one of the issues we had this last year, was just getting referees at the events. Under Jubilee, the business vendor fee is going away. We haven't had a business vendor at one of these events, and staff feels it kind of takes away from what the purpose of the event is. So that won't be in there anymore. The business parade entry will propose to go up $15 to $50, kind of matches other local entities. And next year they're proposing a T-shirt decorating contest with an entry fee of $7. Cornhole League is new. We have set new rates for that. Individual $40, late fee $10. Sadly to say, dodgeball did not do very well. Just could not get a lot of interest this year. Could not get that league off the ground, so we're going to remove that and try something else, the cornhole. Holodazzle, I put this on here, Breakfast with Santa. This is something we've always done. The fee's always been $10. We're just going to include it on the fee schedule now. So it'll be in one place for everyone to look at. Under the animal services, the pet licenses, those fees are going away per the microchipping ordinance that we passed not too long ago. So it's just cleaning up the fee schedule. There was some discussion at a previous council meeting about mobile vendors. So staff is proposing we reduce the mobile vendor permit from $150 to $100. And then if you are already permitted by another entity, then just a $25 registration fee. You come in, show it, we'll validate it, $25. Should help reduce the cost for mobile vendors coming into the city. Under the permits, the majority of these are just clarifications. We updated some language on the plan review fees. We clarified solar is actually an electrical permit. No change in fee, just clarifying that that's what it's classified as and it follows that fee amount. And it doesn't show on here, but we are updating the cost for an above-ground pool. If it's 48 inches or greater in depth, that's the fee there. And then if we're going less than 48 inches, greatly reducing the fee to $25. Currently, they do pay the full cost of that fee. But now, under this proposal, anything less than 48 inches will actually be at a much lower rate for a permit. Now, be remiss, I was notified today, our staff was actually on the phone with a resident who had concerns about our deck fee, which is a $250, if you want to put a deck in your backyard. The current ordinances and statutes have a $250 base fee plus a plan review fee, which is based on the cost of construction. So it's not unheard of. In this particular case, it was a $325 permit fee for them to put in a deck permit, or put in a deck. The resident asked us we bring it up to council for consideration. This was just happened today, so staff hasn't had time to kind of look around and make any specific recommendations, but we did want to bring it up to you. And finally, the drainage fee increase on the residential to $50 and commercial to $150. Staff has been looking at other rates and then other cities charge, as well as the actual cost, inflated salaries that kind of go into the floodplain permit plan review, and feel that these costs as proposed are appropriate. And those are the fees we plan to change. Again, overall revenue generating for the city is not a large fiscal impact. A lot of these are very targeted to the services they provide, and are limited use to the residents.
All right, council, floor is open for discussion. Councilmember Davis.
Where we list the swimming pools on this particular listing here, is that just where they showed up, or are we talking about swimming pools under electrical because they require an electrical connection?
So that's where the swimming pool shows up. So it presently is there. Again, the issue we had this summer is with COVID, with the pandemic, we've had more residents go out sort of Walmart and buy the kind of inflatable above-ground pool. It's got a pump and a filter. So technically you need a permit for it, and that's the thing that we said, let's drop it down. So we've left it where it was, just added it. But yeah, essentially there's just a couple of things they look at to make sure they're not using an extension cord with that pump, and to make sure they've got the alarm coming out the back door, because even when those inflatable, a small toddler, flip over falling, can't get out.
So even if it's an inflatable without a pump, without a filter, it still requires a $25 permit?
So if they walked in and said, I'm just doing the inflatable, I'm not doing anything else, they'd probably wing it at that point. What they would have a concern about there is making sure they've got the alarm coming out the back door. But that's probably one where they'd work with them on it. We've not had one that I'm aware of that's come in without the pump. They all have that pump with the cord with the 3-prong, and those are the ones that have gotten kicked up to me.
Yeah, I just myself, I have a problem with a $25 permit fee and calling for inspections for someone that goes out and gets one of those 18-inch, 24-inch inflatable pool from Walmart. I understand the risk with door alarm. I've got an in-ground pool, so I understand the risk with door alarms and electrical faults and connections and all that kind of stuff, and I think that needs to be taken into consideration. But to sit there and put a $25 permit fee on, I mean, technically, if I go out and get one of those little plastic 4-foot diameter pools, now I'm telling a resident they got to go out and get a $25 permit fee as well for that kiddie pool. I kind of have a concern with that. I don't mind having a permit fee if we've got to go out and look at electrical connections or stuff like that. So if it's got a motorized pump or filter, and we want to make sure that folks understand, don't be running extension cords for 300 feet and all that kind of, I get that.
Yeah.
But I think this is just too generic with regards to, I mean, basically, we're saying anything you put in your backyard that's going to put water in it, you need a $25 permit fee, which I think is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, I think staff's certainly okay with that. I think we're certainly okay if what you want us to do is make a motion to amend this and come back next time to say, if it doesn't have a pump at all, then we don't charge a fee at all. I think staff's perfectly fine with that. I think the challenge we had this summer is somebody'd walk in with those inflatable with a pump, and we're kind of going, it's $200. Seemed high to us, thus the idea was drop it down. But certainly I think staff would be fine with that. Say, look, if you just want us to make sure, if it doesn't have that, we can drop the fee.
Yeah, I would recommend some clarification on temporary pools that are smaller in nature. I don't want to, without doing any additional research, I don't want to go out there and say 4 foot, 3 foot, anything else, but I think this is just too vague.
So if you're comfortable, we can do is hearing kind of discussion, if generally council agrees, let us go back and look and make a distinction in whether it's in the ordinance or whether it's in the materials we put up or hand out that makes a distinction where the code requires a permit at all. If, again, on one of the plastic ones that's 8 inches, you don't need, we'll make that clear to folks, don't need to bother coming in with us. And again, if you do need a permit, but there's no pump, so less to look at, we can drop the fee. So if you want, we can take a crack at that.
Sure.
Getting it before next time.
On a secondary one, I really wouldn't mind you guys taking a second look at the deck permit fees as related to other things that we do now. If someone's putting out a regular wooden deck on the ground, to me, there's a big difference between someone coming out and doing a concrete deck that may or may not be attached to the house, a freestanding wooden deck. We have a lot of latitude on Because it sounds like that's a requirement for decks in general. We have some latitude on sheds. If it doesn't have electricity, if it doesn't have a concrete foundation, if it's below a certain size, we don't require a permit. I would think that we could probably work out some kind of same latitude with regards to either a lesser fee for a wooden deck, which may not be a full permanent structure, or even something on the size of it, depending on what they want to put in.
So let me go take a look at it. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, if it's a concrete patio or deck, if you will, I think that's a flat work permit, not a deck permit. I think the decks, as it applies, and I'll again confirm and can communicate with you for next time, is it's inherently a wooden deck. I think what staff has struggled with on that with the wooden deck is we have the wooden deck that's 4 inches off the ground and kind of stretches out. That, not that it's not important, it doesn't fall over, slide over, or something breaks on it. But the concern we have is a deck that's higher off the ground. It's a multi-level, you get a few feet off the ground, or it's a deck coming off a second floor that the code really kind of triggers. So if the intent is, see if we can be more nuanced with it, then we can go back and take a look at something like that that may make sense.
Yeah, I said, I look at it the same way we look at sheds. I mean, maybe it's we just need a better clarification and a visual aid to the residents that says, if it's an elevated deck with stairs, if it's above X number of feet because it's got a fall hazard, if you're running wires to it, I get all that. But I mean, I just think, in general, just to say, here's a permit fee for decks is kind of okay again. That's it. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Councilmember Dalla?
I would pretty much concur with what Councilman Davis said about the decks. We went through a lot of that with the sheds a few years ago on P&Z, and for a small do-it-yourself or doing a small little structure, there's no need for a permit. But again, if it becomes something larger, maybe on square footage or elevation, that we trigger some sort of inspection process on that.
Okay.
Okay, Councilmember Haywood?
I'm just going to concur in that pool fee, as you were talking about. I think if I'm going out getting a little wading pool and it's, I shouldn't have to pay $25 to get it. And I think most people probably wouldn't even know they had to pay a fee to go to Walmart and pick up a pool. And,
Sure.
And so I think that needs to be waived. And as far as the decks, I think, since we have that, as long as it's under 120 square feet for the shed, then we probably should do something like that with the decks.
Okay, any other comments? Councilmember Brown?
Along with the deck there, I agree that as a onerous price to pay for, like you say, a 4-inch extension to your concrete patio, whereas, anything that's, 30 inches, you got to have a rail. That's your fall hazards, that's your FHA requirements, things along that line. That certainly should require a permit and
Okay. So just, and we can go back and look at that. The biggest issue we'll run on deck plan review has to do with the spans and the support. That's generally the comment we get. And so one thing to keep in mind is, and we can talk about it next time, give you guys some options how you want to go with it, is how much of it's about the fee versus how much of it is about, no, have them come in to pull a permit so we can ensure it complies with the span length and the support issue, more for a homeowner protection. Hey, if I'm paying $3,000 for a deck, to make sure it's built per code and is going to last them and hold up, not somebody getting hurt. So let us come back with a couple options on those.
Okay. Okay, any other comments? No. Ms. Dennis, do we need to make a motion to postpone action, or?
I make a motion to amend. The ordinance 20M24 for specification on the deck and the pool.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to amend ordinance 20M24 with specifications on the deck and the pool.
Is there a second? I think we needed to go back to look at the our code. Am I correct?
Would it be more of a motion to table or postpone?
I think it should be a motion to postpone till we get clarification on code.
Since this is an ordinance in 2 readings, anything approved tonight's preliminary, and if we come back with changes, council can choose to adopt those changes on the 2nd reading, or we can post the whole thing and do 1st reading next time. It's up to you.
Okay. So we can actually pass it there and then go ahead and look at the revisions on the 2nd reading.
That's right. If you want to
Okay.
keep it moving in the schedule, you can go, as Councilman Hayward said, pass it with the note to make those changes. We'll come back next time, present them to you, tweak it, get the wording. If we're good with that, you can approve it. If we didn't quite hit it right, you can delay.
We can delay it next time. Okay. So we got a motion on the floor to approve ordinance number 20M24 with modifications to the pool and the deck. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion's been made by Councilmember Haywood, second by Councilmember Scagliola. Is there any other comments, questions? If not, let's call for the vote.
Aye.
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 We have 5 ayes, no objection, motion passes. Thank you. We'll move on to item number 8, resolution number 20R80. A resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing expenditures with Utility Engineering Group, PLLC, totaling no more than $143,000 for professional engineering services related to the Riata Lift Station relocation project and other matters in connection therewith. Floor is all yours, Mr. McKellen.
Yes, sir. Scott McClellan with the Engineering Department. So tonight we'd like to bring a resolution to award a professional engineering design contract, bid and construction services to Utility Engineering Group for the relocation of the Riata Lift Station. So as most of you are probably aware, TxDOT's working on their I-35 Next project right now, which is to add travel lanes, both elevated and surface, from AT&T Center Parkway on the south end of the project all the way to just past FM 3009. So TxDOT's currently in the process of procuring a design-build contractor to do the project, and the majority of the utility relocations will be done by that design-build firm. However, TxDOT's identified a couple of critical utility facilities that they're requesting be relocated before the design-build firm begins the project. And one of those facilities is the Riata Lift Station, which is one of our lift station facilities. And it's roughly located at along the I-35 frontage road at Fairlawn Avenue, as you can see on the map that I have on the screen. We're recommending that we award the project to Utility Engineering Group, UEG, who's one of our on-call engineering firms that we have under contract right now to do the design, bidding, and construction services of the lift station relocation. UEG has a great reputation in the area. They work for both utility companies and private developers. They've designed several of our existing lift stations that have been built by private developers and then dedicated to the city. So we're confident in their abilities. And they've also done TxDOT utility coordination projects. So we're confident in their abilities in that as well. The scope also includes land acquisition services. We'll have to find a new location for the lift station, most likely nearby where it exists now. But that's included in their services to assist with that. And because the relocation is required as part of an interstate highway project, it is the design and construction are fully reimbursable by TxDOT through a standard utility agreement, and that is finalized after design is complete, and we have a design or a fully designed construction estimate. So that'll be coming at the end of design and before construction starts. So while the fee will be reimbursed, we have to front the money up until that standard utility agreement is authorized. And so the funding for the project is coming out of the fiscal year 1920 Public Works operational budget. And as I said, will be reimbursed in the future. So with that, are there any questions?
Okay, council, floor is open for discussion. Okay, is there a motion to approve resolution number 20R80?
So move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Scagliola, second by Councilmember Dalla. Any other comments or questions? If not, let's call for the vote.
Aye.
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 We have 5 ayes, no objection, motion passes. Thank you. We'll move on to item number 9, resolution number 20R81. A resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing expenditures with Kimberly Horn Associates Incorporated, totaling no more than $294,000 for Phase 1 professional engineering services related to the 16-inch line dedicated transmission main project and other matters in connection therewith. Floor is yours.
Thank you. So we've got another professional services contract that we're looking to award for another project. So this one is a dedicated transmission main project that's going from the Live Oak tank site, as shown on the map, up to the I-35 elevated tank. So currently there's no direct connection between these tanks. So we get our water into the Live Oak tank site from SSLGC, and then it's distributed from there. So this project would create a dedicated line to connect the Live Oak tank site to that I-35 tank. Currently, it's the I-35 elevated tank is being fed through the distribution network, which is not ideal for a number of reasons. It requires us to run at a higher pressure in order to make it all the way and fill the tank. Which creates an undesirable pressure for residents that are close by to the tank site, but also causes operation and maintenance issues, both the pipes having to run at the higher pressure and then pumps having to run more often. So the project is a net benefit to our network and our system. It is proposed to be a 16-inch line. Because the project is a fairly large project, and as the crow flies, the tanks are only about 2 miles apart, but we're estimated that it's going to be getting close to a 4-mile transmission main because of the route that we might have to take. And so because it's a larger project, we've broken up the design consultant fees into 2 separate phases. So this resolution is just awarding Phase 1 of that design contract, and it includes the route study to select the best route, to taking into consideration crossings and existing utilities, and also right-of-way and easement considerations, and then also any environmental concerns that are found along that route. It also includes the development of preliminary engineering report, which includes up to 30% plans. So at the end of this phase, we'll have a route selected and 30% plans for the route. And then at a later date, we'll bring back the second phase, which will include finishing out the design, bidding, and construction phase services. This project is a planned project in the fiscal year 1920 Water Department budget, and so that's where the funding will come from for this project. Are there any questions?
Okay, thank you. Council, floor is open for discussion. No discussions. Okay, is there a motion to approve resolution number 20R81?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, was that Councilman Scagliola?
Hayward and Scagliola.
Yeah, okay. Motion's been made by Councilmember Hayward, second by Councilmember Scagliola. Council, any other comments? Now, let's call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Okay, we have 5 ayes, no objection, passes. Thank you. We'll move on to our workshop discussion, an update regarding COVID-19 virus and our current ordinance number 20H18, our declaration of local disaster. Chief Long, floor is yours.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just a quick review of the numbers this evening. Starting to level out a little bit. So that's starting to look good from that standpoint. Just kind of looking at current numbers, Guadalupe County today went up to 1,700 total cases, but they're also showing 1,600 are recovered, but there's still 588 pending over there, so that will adjust our active number a little bit. For Schertz, added another one today, so we're at 113 total, 97 recovered and 16 active cases in Schertz. Bexar County's had a couple of big weeks of increases. They had a 5,000 day last week, but they've got back to a total of 36,000 with 26,000 recovered, but so 9,600 still active. So they're starting to get down to where they're seeing 200 and 300 cases in a day. So that's encouraging. Our 78154 zip code of Schertz is still showing about 130 cases right now in our Bexar County part. Comel's went up to 1968 with 830 recovered, so they still had a pretty big jump, but their numbers are starting to level out as well to where it's 50, 60, 70 every few days. Again, Dish is Region 8, just to kind of show you that number. I think last time I was here was probably around 8,000 or so, and it's up to 14,000 now. But again, just each day starting to see that number level out to where it's not those 1,000, 2,000 case jumps. Walk-up testing, so we partnered with Guadalupe County and Dishes last week to offer walk-up testing, and our partners at the school district allowed us to use Clemens Stadium. So we had about 300 walk-up and test last Friday. I haven't got any of those results back yet. I know a lot of the people that got tested did get an email if they were negative, but I haven't heard an official count of those numbers yet. And then again, this coming Friday, we're doing that walk-up testing again, and so that will be over at the community center for anybody that's interested. It will be 8 to 4 or until they run out of test. And so if anybody's interested in that, it's going to be at the community center here. Again, just a real quick snapshot of the counties. Just kind of looking at, again, the tops, Houston, then Dallas, and then Bexar County, and then Travis. And then the bottom one is Guadalupe County again, just to kind of show you what that looks like over the past month and a half or so. State data, hospitalizations of COVID patients, again, just looking, last time it was 10,410, and so now it's went down to 9781 as of today. The positivity rate had went up to 16% last time, and it's kind of come down a little bit to 13%. And, you know, just looking at that daily rate, it was at 5,600 of positive cases a day, and now that's down to 4,200. So starting to see the numbers stabilize a little bit, so hopefully that trend continues. Hospitalizations, I'm in Bexar County, just to give you a quick overview. You can see there last time it was 1,200. COVID patients in the hospital, that's come down to 1,073. You know, we're starting to see still the ICU and ventilators are still kind of staying up there, so we're seeing less people in the hospital, but a little sicker people in the hospital at this point. And non-COVID patients staying about the same. We're still seeing about 2,600 in there, 2,700 in there. In Bexar County hospitals. That's pretty much just kind of the overview of where we're at today with the numbers and how we're moving forward. So if there's anything else I can answer for you, let me know.
Thank you, Chief. Thanks for providing those numbers. The council floor is open for discussion. And Councilmember Dalla?
Kate, I just want to say thanks for what you're doing. You know, the coin that you got from the city manager, it's just a small token of everybody's appreciation of the efforts that you've been putting in over these months. And just know that it's not going unrecognized. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council, any other comments? Okay, thank you, Chief. All right, then we'll move on to item number 11. Discussion and consideration and or action regarding confirmation, appointment, or election of the Mayor Pro Tem for the term from August 2020 to February 2021. Council, before we proceed, rules and procedures indicate the next council member is, for Mayor Pro Tem, is Councilmember Scott. Due to the absence of two members, the chair is making a motion to postpone discussion until our next meeting. If I can have a second?
Second.
Okay. Council, any questions? Have a motion from the mayor, second by Councilmember Hayward. Any other comments? Now let's call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Okay. Have 5 ayes, no objection. Motion passes to postpone. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to our roll call confirmation. Our City Secretary, Brenda Dennis, will provide roll call confirmation vote for the agenda items 1 through 4, discussion items 5, 6, 7, I didn't write them down, sorry, 8 and 9, 5 through 9. All right.
Yes, Mayor. Consent agenda items 1 through 4. A motion was made by Mayor Pro Tem Davis, seconded by Councilmember Dalla. Mayor Pro Tem Davis, Councilmembers Dalla, Scagliola, Hayward, Brown voted yes. No one voted no. Motion passed. Number 5, ordinance number 20L23 with changes to the hours of 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Motion was made by Councilmember Dalla, seconded by Councilmember Hayward. Mayor Pro Tem Davis, Councilmembers Dalla, Scagliola, Hayward, Brown voted yes. No one voted no. Motion passed. Item number 6, Resolution 20R77. A motion was made by Councilmember Dalla, seconded by Councilmember Hayward. Mayor Pro Tem Davis, Councilmembers Dalla, Scagliola, Hayward, Brown voted yes. No one voted no. Motion passed. Item number 7, ordinance number 20M24 on first reading with modifications to the pool and the deck. A motion was made by Councilmember Hayward, Councilmember Scagliola. Mayor Pro Tem Davis, Councilmembers Dalla, Scagliola, Hayward, Brown voted yes. No one voted no. Motion passed. Item number 8, resolution number 20R80. A motion was made by Councilmember Scagliola, seconded by Councilmember Dalla. Mayor Pro Tem Davis, Councilmembers Dalla, Scagliola, Hayward, Brown voted yes. No one voted no. Motion passed. Item number 9, resolution number 20R81. A motion was made by Councilmember Hayward, seconded by Councilmember Scagliola. Mayor Pro Tem Davis, Councilmembers Dalla, Scagliola, Hayward, Brown voted yes. No one voted no. Motion passed. Item number 11, motion was made by the chair, seconded by Councilmember Hayward, to postpone to the next meeting the appointment of the Mayor Pro Tem. Mayor Pro Tem Davis, Councilmembers Dalla, Scagliola, Hayward, Brown voted yes. No one voted no. Motion passed.
Thank you, Ms. Dennis. I'd like to mention items number 12 and 13 are informational items and were provided to the City Council and available online for viewing. Item number 12 was the Civil Small Animal Hospital expenditures for the 2019-2020 fiscal year exceeding $50,000. And item number 13, which is Southwest Public Safety expenditures for the 2019-2020 fiscal year exceeding $80,000. So we'll move on to requests and announcements. Announcements by our city manager, Dr. Brown. Okay. Requests by the mayor, council members for updates or information from staff. Any updates or information? None? Okay. Request by mayor or council members that items be placed on the future city council agenda. Any items? None? Okay. Then we'll go announcements by council members. Mayor Pro Tem Davis.
Nothing, sir.
Councilmember Dalla.
Nothing, sir.
Councilmember Scagliola.
Not tonight.
Councilmember Hayward.
Nothing.
Councilmember Brown. I do have two announcements I'd like to make. First of all, I want to thank the Guadalupe County. They had a food drive and assisted our community with this food drive. And I want to say thank you to Guadalupe County Commissioners for putting this together. Very much appreciate it. Also, toward the food related. You know, this virus had been very devastating to a lot of companies. And this company actually was so innovative that they took it to a different level. And from providing to wholesalers to providing to our community. And I just want to pass along my appreciation and thank you for the tour. That's all I have. The time is now 7:12. We stand adjourned.